Hey everybody, Porn Free Millennial here, and it's been a little bit of time again. I think the last episode I put out was right before 4th of July, if you'd call that an episode, and I was on the road. I was feeling pretty confident that I could get some episodes published. When I got back from traveling, I went all the way from Colorado to Ohio and back in my RV, saw some family. It was a good time. And thought I could get some episodes out, but boy, was I wrong. Had a little bit of some other trips. Went to Florida. Just got back a little more than last week ago. And yeah, I think I just need to give myself some time to collect, to refocus, and to simplify. I don't know about you, but there are times in my life, at least recently, where I feel like I've just put too much on my plate, and it's almost the stress of just getting these things done that are unrealistic, that can really wear you out. So I feel like I'm turning the corner, getting my energy back, and right now I'm walking the dog. So if you hear a little bit of background noise, there's a community pool where I'm at, close to it. So if you hear any background noise, I apologize. But yeah, just want to get out a quick unscripted message to everybody listening. I really hope you're doing well today and that you have had a good week. This is a tough journey. It's a tough journey to reprogram ourselves through, what may be years and years, even decades of porn use. And just wanted to get out a quick message to you. Definitely unscripted here. Just a quick message of encouragement, of hope, and direction as well. So right now, a little over 8 months sober. If you go back and listen, it's quite interesting, actually. I recorded an episode, Porn Prison, which is actually the most downloaded one. I think it's episode 8. I recorded that and then had a relapse, I think like a month and a half, 2 months after, in December. And then I recorded getting back in the ring after that, and I talked about what led to that relapse and my mental state. And definitely, if you're listening to this now, and if you haven't listened to Porn Prison and getting back in the ring, I re-listened to those, I think about a few weeks ago, just to kind of hear where my mental state was, like pre and post relapse. It is quite interesting to hear that. And why I bring that up is, wherever you're at in your journey right now, maybe you relapsed, you looked at porn today, maybe you've had a couple months of sobriety or a couple of years. It's always, today's always the best day. At this moment, it's always the best day to get back on the horse and to fight the good fight. There's no waiting for the perfect moment. That's completely false. It's never going to happen that way. We got to put in the work today and put in that focus today in order to have a better tomorrow. And I want to get that message out to you, to encourage you just to take that step. If you're having a day where you're struggling, or like I said, if you had a day where you relapsed on porn, that could have been really recently, I just want to provide you that encouragement just to get back on the horse and keep fighting, because it is a worthy fight. I would say, this 8 months of sobriety for me has been very beneficial and very fulfilling. I feel like I'm looking through life in a different lens. I feel like each time I've had a relapse recently, at least the past few years, the time between my relapses has increased and the frequency has decreased, meaning that I might have a relapse like I did eight months ago, but I was able to close that off quicker, get back on the horse quicker, get back into recovery quicker and sobriety quicker. And I think that's something that you can focus on in your journey. If you're struggling having a good routine, just focus on one day at a time. And you'll be surprised when you're doing that, just how the frequency will start to decrease between your relapses, and the duration will start to increase with that mindset of just focusing on one day at a time. Cut your day up. What are the most frequent times where you typically will look at porn? Is it in the morning, afternoon, at night? Where is it happening? Is it in your bathroom? Is it in a separate room in the office? Is it in the family room? And then I'd say third thing you look at is, what is it on? Is it on your laptop? Is it on your phone? Is it a magazine? Is it something physical, or is it fantasy? And start to isolate those items. Start to look at it. I think that'll really help in your journey as you go. Start to make your environment safer. Environment where you feel like you can live freely, and you're not constantly having these triggers and these pulls towards this habit that's very destructive. And just reflecting on it in this 8 months, I've been in a relationship now for 6, and it's just amazing to be in a relationship where it's built off of this trust, where I've been open about my struggle, open about what I'm doing with the podcast and with my writing, and it's been accepted by my partner, and I think she understands the work that I'm putting in, and I think that really helps with the relationship to where we can enjoy our time together without this cloud over us. We can bask in the sunlight. We can enjoy the scenery without this dark rain cloud hovering over us. And I think that's what happens in relationships and in my past relationship, where we hide things, where we're ashamed, where we feel this constant anxiety that, hey, I'm holding back a secret, and when am I going to tell my partner about it? And I just wanted to share that because it's just a night and day difference to be in this relationship, to where there's not this feeling, this foreboding feeling of, I'm hiding something, I need to keep this secret or else she's not going to love me. And I would just say if you're in a relationship now and you have had that rain cloud, really important to work on constructive ways to go about it with your partner and to talk about it. And there's a lot of different scenarios that I'm not going to cover on this, and it's all going to be dependent on probably how you've handled things in the past. But what I would say is the truth is always going to come out, right? And the truth is really important. It's very important to live within the truth. First, for yourself, be honest with yourself, right? If you internally know that you've been struggling with porn, and you know that it's causing negative effects in your life, you first need to be honest with yourself about that. You need to be honest, telling yourself, hey, this isn't good for me. I need to get help. I need to talk about it. Because if you keep going about it where you think that you're just going to solve it on your own, I'm just telling you right now, it's not going to work. It's going to blow up. It's going to get worse. So really be honest with yourself first. I remember when I really started to get into recovery a couple of years ago, I went about it the hard way. It was through discovery, my partner discovering things and calling me out on it. And I was just painfully, I look back on it, just painfully not self-aware, to where I would gaslight, make it almost feel like, it was her problem. And I just would always just try to justify it. I was tired or whatnot, or bored, or try to downplay it. Like, well, at least I'm not looking at that stuff. At least I'm not doing it this many times. It doesn't matter, right? If we're not being honest, that's it. We're lying. It's either you're being honest or you're not. And I think also when we withhold the truth, maybe we don't talk about it and we hide it, that's also a form of dishonesty. So really challenge you, if you're struggling with this, first be honest with yourself. Then it's always useful to look into, at least for myself, I started to look into therapy. I started to join different groups. There's 2 really good groups I have off the top of my head. One's one that I'm actually in right now with Vern Tomke. He's the host of Finding Traction podcast. And I think his website, off the top of my head, I think it's bandofbrothers.care. And he has groups, he has individual sessions. Those are so helpful. Actually just made it halfway through his 52-week course. in there with 6 other guys. It's fantastic. We talk every Thursday, and that's been really helpful for me. And then also Matt Dobshoots, he's the host of Porn Free Radio. I think his is through recoveredman.com, I believe. And that's how I actually got started. I joined his group, and then he had a lot of people joining. So then Vern started to help out, and that's how I got to know Vern. And then I ended up joining Vern's group. But that's always helpful, getting in a group with other guys or women to help people that also struggle with it, that want to do better. It's a great way to build community. And then also, I do therapy. I've been seeing the same therapist now, I think for, what is it now, like close to 3 years. And that's just also helpful to where I can talk about, my day-to-day journey with porn, but I can also just talk about just everything else, right, in life. I mean, to be frank, it's a holistic thing, right? It's not just about not looking at porn. It's about living a more fulfilling life. But those are 2 things, like joining group. Therapy is great way to just be able to talk to somebody in confidence about what you're struggling with. Also, if you are religious, joining a group through like your church or wherever you practice your faith, what a great way to meet people that have similar beliefs, similar, let's say, values on how things are viewed. And that was another big thing for me a couple of years ago, was joining a men's group through church and studying the Bible, but also being able to talk about that. And that's been a great discussion point that we have when we check in with each other, that I'll share through prayer, is just how I'm doing, what I'm struggling with, what I'm succeeding at. And overall, you want to have community. You want to have a sense of accountability that can really help. And so those are some tips there, I think, just with community there. Leading into accountability, I did have a podcast with my brother. I've had 2 of them, actually. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, what they are, but it's about brotherhood and accountability with my little brother Noah. And we check in with each other every day. There's been a few days where we haven't, if we've been on travel and stuff like that, but typically it's every day around noon. We'll send each other a voice memo, and we'll go through a fast check-in. So fast check-in is F is for feelings. So how are we feeling today? A is for active commitments. Typically that's going to be geared towards commitments in your spiritual life, commitments in your relationships, commitments to your passions, and then commitments to physical health. So really it's just like, what are you actively committed to each day, each week? How is that building up? Because little things, like little habits, are really important to have when we're in recovery, is healthy habits that can be repeated consistently. So we'll check in on that. So F is for feelings, A is for active commitments, and then the S is for sobriety. So basically checking in, where our sobriety's at. Typically how we like to do it is kind of like a stoplight. You got green is good, yellow, you're kind of on the edge there, a little bit danger territory, slow down, right? And then red is basically you crossed your red line, you had a relapse. And a relapse is basically like whatever that red line is for you. So for me, it's like looking at pornography, masturbating, basically searching it out. Obviously, when you go on the World Wide Web or if you're watching anything on TV, there's going to be things that pop up, and we get that. It's really, am I lingering on it? Am I looking that up later? Am I lusting over that? That's really a red line for me. So checking that out on a daily basis, that's a great way just to get a temperature for where you're at with your accountability partner, how you feeling that day. Typically, if there's a relapse, there's normally like breadcrumbs you can follow through your check-ins, be like, okay, like I checked in that I was green, but really I was more in the yellow. And if I'm more honest about that next time, we could be able to catch that sooner. So that's S is sobriety. And then there's 2 T's. The first one is for threats. So like, what are threats to your sobriety? Typically for me, it's just when I'm really tired and I don't get a lot of good sleep. And then if I drink maybe too much and I have like a hangover or something of that nature, I've really cut down on that. That one really hasn't happened in a really long time, but those are like really, for me, big threats. Like if I just feel really not good physically. That's like where my mind can be more weak and my body, I'm not as active. So then I'm more stationary, and those can be troubling things. So threats are really good to identify. Or it could just be something you're fantasizing about. Maybe there's some cute babe at the store that you just couldn't take your eyes off of. That happens. It's good to check that in, because then once you check it in, it really takes the weight off, and you can kind of look at it and be like, okay, like, what am I going to do? Am I just going to keep fantasizing? Or once I check it in, that kind of adds that accountability where I'm like, okay, it happens. There's attractive people. What am I going to do to move on from that? So that's the first T's for threats. And then the last T is for tools to combat those threats. So basically, if you check in your threat, you followed up the check-in and ending the check-in with like, what tools are you going to do? So something recently that I did, I'm really cutting back on my social media consumption. I put some app limits on my phone. I also have this app called the Freedom app, which basically it will like shut down certain parts of your phone throughout the certain days. So updating that so that I can just have undivided time to where I'm not on my phone. That just helps me be more productive, more focused, and helps me with my energy levels. So that's just an example of a tool that can combat it. Because I was looking at my social media consumption, and I'm just like, I'm putting myself in deep water if I'm scrolling, if I'm just on social media too much. So I'm going to cut back on that, right? So really that's a big part of being honest too, is being able to honestly check in where you're at on a day-to-day basis, preferably doing that with someone that you trust. So for me, it's my little brother. For you, it could be the same thing, a brother, a friend, a family, some kind of family member. You could do it with your therapist, with your group, your men's group. Something of that nature can be really helpful. And then last thing, I'll check in with you all. I know this has been just a little bit of a list off the top of my head, some tips. But I think last thing, two more things. I think a great way to help with sobriety is to have a way to track it. There's a really good app. It's called the I Am Sober app. I love this thing. You can track your sobriety up to the second. It's not always about day count, but it does help give you some perspective and be like, hey, like, where was I like 8 months ago to when I had that relapse? And on that day, I can still remember I felt like crap. I felt sad. I just felt like, wow, like I just started this podcast and this Substack, and like, what the heck am I doing if I'm having these relapses? Like, am I going to talk about it? Am I going to stop doing my podcast? Like, I just had all these questions, and just like, am I going to just quit and just go back to this old lifestyle? And I ended up saying, heck no, like, that's stupid. Got back on it, started podcasting again, and it's been really therapeutic for me to do that. But I think being able to track it can help give you some perspective of where you were at that time in life and how much you've grown. Also, there's groups on there. So I have a group. It's called Road to Recovery. If you're interested, let me know. You can send an email to pornfreemillennial@gmail.com with your username. I can add you in my group. Got a few people in there. It's just a way for us you can pledge every day, like that you're going to be sober. You can send little messages in there of encouragement. I think it's just a great way to build community as well online. Totally anonymous as well. And I just enjoy the Sober app. There's a lot of community in there. You can also see like people checking in like their milestones. It will automatically track your milestones too and give you little badges and things. So it gives you a sense of accomplishment as you're going. And I check it every day. I always open it up. And I open it up sometimes too when I'm feeling temptations or I'm feeling up whole. I'll open it up. It just gives me like, hey man, like you've done a lot of work and look at you. Like, you've done a great job. Like, keep it up. It's a good way just to encourage yourself as you're going, and I think when we're having this issue with porn, it's so easy for ourselves just to beat up on ourselves and to put ourselves down. And this is such a great way just to give yourself some credit for what you're doing. It's a lot of work that we're doing. It's deprogramming this very destructive energy, this very destructive force that I think, at least from my perspective, it's this thing that we grow up in with society. Like, we grow up in a very sexualized culture, at least in America, to where it's everywhere. It's just ubiquitous. It's everywhere around you. Advertisements, movies, shows, music. Like, you can't get away from it. And it just gets worse and worse every year. Less and less clothes, more and more in your face. And it's such a big deal that you are going on this journey. It's awesome. It's heroic. It's courageous. It's the right thing to do. It's counterculture. And ultimately, it's going to help you out in life. I was talking about my relationship, but I mean, doing really well I think with my travels, I feel focused with work. I had the best year ever at my job last year, going into this year. And there's just a lot of exciting things going on in life. I feel like my relationships are better with my friends and my family. There's more flavor each day in life. There's more to savor. There's less to worry about. I'm not worried about the secrets I'm hiding. I'm more focused on the things I want to do and the positives in life. And I think when we're stuck in this cycle with porn, we just get so sucked into the negative things. And it's just really good to get into that mind state where you're thinking clearly, you have a fresh conscience, you feel honest, and you are honest. It's just, it's the way to live. So keep it up. You're not going to be perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. But it's worth shooting for a high aim. And I think that's what I'll end on is, I think one of the most important things with recovery is what is your aim? Why are you doing this? And don't do it for anyone else but yourself. You have to do it for yourself. Ultimately, you have to do it for yourself. I think I've seen people struggle in the past that I've been in groups with or just in life where it's like, I'm doing this for my wife or my girlfriend, or so I don't let so-and-so down. Whenever I hear that, ultimately, I'm like, oh gosh, you might have a few good streaks in you, but ultimately, that's not going to be good enough. You got to do it for you. You got to do it for your humanity, your self-respect. Do it for your dignity. Do it for living in integrity, living a full, fulfilling life. That's what the aim should be, is something deep down inside that clicks with you. And for me, I don't want to live a double life. I want to live in the truth. I mean, guys, we have one life to live. Live it fully. I think there's some quote from Braveheart that just came up in my head where they say, I think it's all men die, but only some fully, or only some really live. Something like that. Great quote, because are you going through the motions, or are you living your life? Are you living a fulfilling life where you're not just going through day to day in this constant haze? That's how I felt when I was in this cycle, was just being in this constant haze. Just feeling like, man, life is just boring. And this porn's exciting. Meanwhile, the whole time, this porn's destroying the foundations of this life that was good, this marriage that was good, relationships that were good, mental state that was good, and all the while it's chipping away at it while I wasn't paying attention. And there's a lot of sadness there about that, but there's also in that sadness, in that void, it's being filled with fulfilling life that I'm living right now, where I'm living in the truth, and I'm aiming each day to get a little bit better. And even on my bad days, where I'm feeling sad, maybe feeling some regret, some shame, I can still hang my hat and say, yeah, but I didn't let the bastard win today. I didn't give in to this temptation. And that's a huge win. So I'll say this, if you can make it through today, heck yeah, do it again tomorrow. All right, y'all. Well, much love to you. Hopefully we'll talk soon. We'll see. I'm kind of just trying to balance time right now and simplify things. But I really do love this podcast. And if you're listening, I just really appreciate you. And hope this message helps you out today and tomorrow and moving forward. So much love. Keep fighting the good fight. Talk to y'all later. Bye.